What's up, Rocket fans? Welcome back. RJ here. So there's clues to Rocket Raccoon's origin in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. And I think I may have found out where those clues are at. And I'm jumping in right now. If this is your first time here and you're a Rocket fan, consider subscribing so you don't miss out on anything. Alright, there's two possibilities for clues in Rocket's origin in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The first one is there's a scene on Contraxia with Yondu, and there's a picture of Walrus in the background. I'll get more into this later, but I don't think that is the actual clue for Rocket's origin. I think that's just James Gunn giving a nod to Rocket's origin in the comics, which is pretty cool, I think, that he threw that in there. What I actually think is the clue to Rocket's origins stems back to the first movie and how there's a big Easter egg in Volume 1 that hasn't been fully solved yet. What I mean by that, in Volume 1, there's every time you go to a planet or location of interest, it gives it coordinates down at the bottom. And the first couple of planets is easy. What you do is you basically tie a number to a letter. It only works for the first couple and not quite well, but it does work, but then it stops working after that point. I think it was a way of James to kind of show you that, hey, there's this Easter egg here, but then stepped it up a notch. Another thing is in James Gunn's recent tweet, said, believe it or not, if you're really, really, really smart, this is hidden somewhere in Volume 2. So I don't think it would be out in the open as easy as it is like that Walrus picture. But we'll also get into more details about that here in a minute. So I think James Gunn has a clue inside of his little clue. That right there, that really, really, really smart. Unfortunately, I'm not really, really, really smart. I'm just average smart. But I think that clue right there is pointing to the fact that nobody's cracked the code for the decryption on those planets for Volume 1 or Volume 2. I'm dying to know what's in Volume 2 as well. So there's two main locations I think is possible for Rocket in Volume 2 for the decode. One of them is where the Walrus picture is at, Contraxia, but I don't think that's it. I think that clue is actually for Yondu, because that whole area scene kind of takes place about the Ravengers and about Yondu. I think it's on Bearheart, because Bearheart they kind of ended up crash landing because of Rocket in a way, fighting with Star-Lord. And two, that is the planet where Rocket gets that whole awesome scene, kicking all those Ravengers' butt by himself. So I think that is where Rocket's clue to his origins is hidden in Volume 2, is in the Bearheart coordinates. So if Rocket's clue really is in that Bearheart code, I think I may have an idea what it is, what it means. But we got to cover some stuff first to understand, so stay tuned for that. So let's move on to number 2, Walrus. So Walrus did show up in the Volume 2 during the scene with Yondu on Contraxia. Walrus is part of Rocket's backstory on Half-World. Let's take a step back in time to 1985, and you'll see here that Rocket and Lila and Walrus all kind of like part of a team. Walrus even shows up in the recent release of the Rocket comic number 6. It's looking like, yeah, this could definitely be pointing to Rocket's origin story in Volume 2, but I don't think it is, and this is why. A little while back, James Gunn had a real hard time deciding whether or not he wanted to break his own canon from the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And he said that the only thing in the first movie that could possibly break the canon for information given was in the prison scene where it shows the information on the characters. So that means at no other time was it brought up in any part of the movie. So let's take a look at these prison scenes. For one, Drax wasn't in it yet because Drax wasn't introduced yet. So he's already out of the question. So it's not Drax's backstory. So that leaves 4 characters. So let's take a look at Gamora. Now for Gamora, all that stuff's already brought up in the movie. So it wouldn't be just the prison scene if there was any changing of the backstory for that. 2, let's take a look at Star-Lord. Same thing with Star-Lord as Gamora. His backstory was already talked about in other parts of the movie, that it wouldn't be just the prison scene that you would be worried about breaking. So that only leaves 2 characters, Groot and Rocket. So let's take a look at Groot. Now there's not a whole lot here to Groot besides the species that he is, and his origin is X. So that is a possibility, but my gut instinct is telling me it's not Groot, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong. So let's take a look at Rockets. This is the one I think that he was talking about when he was having a hard time deciding whether or not he was going to break that character's canon in his own movie. I believe he's already decided he's going to do that. So that means that this is going to change everything since he's decided to already break that canon. Now, Rocket's information here shows that he is from Half-World. I believe this is the canon that was tripping James up on writing Volume 3. I could be wrong, but I think the Half-World origin is out or going to be different. That doesn't necessarily mean the characters are going to be different, or may not be in it, or may not be connected. So Walrus could still have a connection here as a clue to Rocket's origin. I think we're going to find out in Volume 3 who is responsible for all the awful things that were done to Rocket. It just may or may not have a connection to Half-World. So with all this leading up, I think I may know what that clue might possibly be in that Bear Heart coordinates, if that's where James really stuck Rocket's clue. Alright, so with all this information leading up to this point, I think I might have an idea of what the Rocket clue is in that Bear Heart code, if that's where James actually hid it. I think it could be a connection to Hydra and Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I can see Hydra doing something as awful as what's happened to Rocket. Well, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this turns out in 2020 when Volume 3 is released. See if I'm anywhere even close. Alrighty, Rocket fans, I would like to hear from you if you have seen any clues or Easter eggs in Volume 2 that could possibly point to Rocket's origin. Maybe we can figure this thing out together. Well, thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget, if you liked the video, click the like button for me and click subscribe so you don't miss out on anything, and I will see you guys next time.